Going back to school online may be the new normal for many students this fall, but staying home is not safe for some children. Our Justina Cornell learns what advocates are doing to help protect children who could be victims of abuse.
The government has tonight ordered a review of sexual abuse in schools. It follows claims that teachers may have covered up offences involving pupils, in order to protect their school's reputation.
It began like any other school day in Tyler, Texas. Students filing into classrooms, lockers slamming shut, the hum of learning in the air. But by March 2025, one ordinary morning had become a nightmare for a special needs student and his family. Hidden cameras in a life skills classroom would later reveal that 3 school employees, trusted to protect vulnerable children, instead subjected an 18-year-old boy with Down syndrome to unimaginable abuse. What you're about to hear is the story of that day and its devastating aftermath.
The government announcement is a helpline run by the NSPCC to provide advice to young people and to adults too, although those in the Department for Education are clear. If people believe a crime has been committed, they should also contact the police.
The victim was a teenager with Down syndrome, attending Tyler High School. On that day, he was under the supervision of a special education teacher, along with 2 aides. According to police reports, the teacher became the main antagonist in what followed. The scene unfolds on March 12, 2025. Around 11:30 a.m., camera footage shows the student being brought into the classroom. Instead of normal instruction, the teacher ordered him to walk in circles around the room. At first, it may have seemed like a simple exercise, but the video tells a darker story. For hours, the boy walked under the harsh glare of fluorescent lights. When he slowed, the teacher rushed across the room and screamed at him to keep moving. "Keep going," she barked, even cursing as she drew close to his face. The police affidavit later revealed she shouted, "Get the tape!" With that order, one of the aides obeyed. The aide grabbed a roll of packing tape and began wrapping the student's hands and fingers, immobilizing them completely. The video evidence shows the teacher directing the act, while another aide even held the scissors to cut the tape. Once bound, the boy could not use his hands. They were taped so tightly that his fingers couldn't move. The footage records the student forced to continue walking for another 2 hours while his hands remained bound. At one point, the teacher added even more tape when the boy tried to peel it off. He was never allowed to sit down, 4 straight hours on his feet. She noticed the tight bands of tape had left deep red welts on his wrists. All the while, the other staff members in the room offered no help. The reports note that neither aide was seen assisting the child during the abuse. One mocked the boy, saying he was walking like a robot, while the other calmly continued to crochet at her desk. In interviews with police, she offered her own explanation. She insisted the student had been defiant, even flipping her the middle finger, and that taping his hands was a way to discipline him. She told investigators she had repeatedly asked for help from the district for almost a year and felt she had no other options. When police asked if her training allowed such punishment, she admitted it did not. She simply felt cornered. Remarkably, she even claimed ignorance of the law. When officers mentioned an arrest warrant, she reportedly asked why. For over 2 weeks, the abuse remained hidden. The victim's family discovered the truth. That day, the boy's grandmother was waiting at the bus stop. She noticed the tape's red marks on his wrists and asked what had happened. Realizing something was terribly wrong, she contacted the school and the police. District investigators immediately obtained the classroom surveillance video from March 12th. Within days, the evidence was undeniable. The 4-hour footage left no doubt about what had occurred. On March 28, 2025, authorities took the teacher and both aides into custody. All 3 were charged with the felony of injury to a disabled person, a serious offense under Texas law. Their bonds were set high, $300,000 for the teacher and $150,000 each for the aides. As records confirmed, the women remained jailed on those bonds pending trial. The school district moved swiftly. Officials confirmed that all 3 were no longer employed following the incident. A district spokesperson stated that while the situation did not involve sexual acts or severe bodily harm, any violation of student safety is treated with the utmost seriousness. The superintendent called the allegations appalling, disappointing, and disheartening, especially because it concerns our most vulnerable population. He emphasized that educators must hold themselves to high standards and that any breach of trust is completely unacceptable. The arrests sent shockwaves through the community, quickly drawing both local and national attention. What began as whispers in the halls of Tyler High soon spread across Texas and beyond. Parents, teachers, and residents watched in disbelief as news outlets detailed how a teacher and 2 aides, trusted caretakers of vulnerable children, now faced serious felony charges. Outside the courthouse, reporters gathered, cameras flashing as the accused were escorted in handcuffs. The story of a special needs student allegedly abused by those sworn to protect him had become more than a local scandal. It was a chilling reflection of the failures within a system meant to safeguard its most defenseless members. Court documents painted an even darker picture than the headlines. Investigators described the disturbing surveillance footage frame by frame. The teacher shouting, "Get the tape!" and the aide obeying without hesitation. Another voice mocked the child, calling him a robot as he struggled to walk with his hands bound. The stark imagery within those affidavits shocked the public. A bright classroom turned into a stage for cruelty, a place of learning transformed into a chamber of humiliation. Each detail felt like a new wound to the conscience of a community that prided itself on compassion and care. As news of the abuse spread online, thousands of people took to social media to express their anger and disbelief. Comment sections filled with outrage, heartbreak, and a collective demand for accountability. Some asked how such acts could have gone unnoticed for so long, while others shared their own experiences of neglect within school systems. The video, though not publicly released, became a symbol, a grim reminder that sometimes the worst horrors happen behind closed doors, where trust silences witnesses and routine hides cruelty. Many called for sweeping reforms in special education monitoring and mental health support for teachers who handle vulnerable students. Despite the uproar, the legal process has been deliberate and slow. Prosecutors moved forward with charges of injury to a disabled person, a serious felony under Texas law. The defendants were formally indicted, their bonds set high to reflect the severity of their alleged crimes. Inside the courtroom, lawyers debated whether their actions were driven by malice, frustration, or a complete breakdown of professional ethics. Families of special needs children sat silently in the gallery, their faces a mix of grief and fear, wondering whether justice, so often delayed in such cases, would finally arrive this time. As of now, no verdict has been reached. The case remains open, suspended between truth and accountability. The teacher and aides await trial, maintaining their innocence while the evidence stands against them like an unblinking witness. For the community of Tyler, the story has become a haunting lesson about vigilance, empathy, and responsibility. Justice may still be pending, but the damage is already done to a child who deserved safety, to a family who trusted the system, and to a community now forced to confront the fragility of its own humanity. In the end, the powerful images of that day, both the silent video and the stunned reactions, leave a chilling impression. A vulnerable teenager with Down syndrome suffered at the hands of those meant to protect him. The district's response underscores the gravity. We hold ourselves to the highest standards. Any violation of that trust is unacceptable. As this story reaches you, the Tyler community remains shaken. Parents and educators alike are left asking, how could this happen in a place of learning? We may never have all the answers. What we do know is that we must remain vigilant, watching over those who cannot protect themselves, and speaking up at the first sign of abuse. The scars from that day, on a young student's hands, and on the community's faith in its schools, will take time to heal. If you or someone you know needs help, or if you have information about this case, contact local authorities. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe for more true crime stories. Together, let's stand for justice and protect the most vulnerable.